Ampire. Hey babies, hey babies, hey babies. Hi everyone, hi everyone, hi everyone. Hi from New Orleans. Happy Thursday. Getting close to Super Bowl 59. And with that in mind, from Radio Row, I had a chance to speak to a number of different ex-players and other celebrities from Radio Row yesterday. I want to play you a collection of some of that today. And I want to start with Super Bowl champions, Vince Wilfork and Malcolm Butler. Wilfork obviously has Hall of Fame credentials and has turned into an incredible spokesman for the Kingsford Charcoal Company. So we talked about food, football, life, etc. Here's Vince Wilfork. Here's a legend next to me, Vince Wilfork, two-time Super Bowl champion, joining us now on behalf of Kingsford to remind fans everywhere that while you can't win every game, you can win every tailgate with Kingsford Charcoal. The big game presents a great opportunity to fire up the grill, plan a feast for friends and family. It is great to see you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I'm used to see you in the middle of a defensive line, and now here, and we're talking about tailgating and food, and I expected to see the larger Vince Wilfork. You look great.
Yes, I had to trim it on down. That's why I cook some healthy stuff now.
Right.
Not all the bad stuff that I used to, but I still eat what I like to eat now.
Yeah?
Yes.
Was food always a passion for you?
Man, food always been a part of my life, you know, growing up. And that's where Kingsford has to tie in for me personally, because for one, you know, growing up, when you go to these parks and all this stuff, that's the first smell you smell is the charcoals, and it was always Kingsford, right? And so it's like the smell, it's the aroma, it's the atmosphere, it's the family and friend, it's the music being played and stuff. So that's, for me, that's why Kingsford is like the champion of all charcoal. When you talk about Kingsford Charcoal, they're the kings. And to be the best, I want to play with the best. I want to be with the best. So Kingsford Original, that's a choice of champions.
And you had a cool campaign, King of the Grill.
King of the Cream, man. You had a great time there.
Yeah.
But Kingsford brings all people together. And it's just an amazing feeling. Like I said, you don't have to be a professional. You can be the neighborhood king of the grill. You can be a first timer. You can be retired. You know, but Kingsford, that's where to go. When you want to get going, especially on game day, Kingsford is the way to go. But me personally, growing up, I grew up smelling it. You know, so it was pretty cool for me to get acquainted with them as my career took off and they came aboard and being able to partner up with them. So it just brings me back to my childhood. So it's a match made in heaven for me.
There's a few things that bring people together: food,
yes,
football.
Yep.
And you've been fortunate to be part of really to both of them, right?
Absolutely. Food and football work hand in hand. You know, we're at the biggest stage in sports. You know, here at the Super Bowl, there's nothing bigger than this. And this is the one time you can go. You don't have to worry about nothing but fans and smiling and laughing and high-fiving, drinking and eating. Like, we don't care about your race. We don't care about what color you are. We don't care about any of that. Football and sports bring people together. And the more we can do this, the more we will be all one. And that's what it's all about, especially at this time of the year with Super Bowl. So I'm looking forward to a great, great game and just looking forward to being amongst everybody and just rubbing their bros and high-fiving and spilling beer on each other and nobody get mad. It's all good and laughing and partying. That's what it's all about. And that's why, you know, football is the greatest sport there is, because that's what it does. It brings people together. Football and food.
Yeah. Were you the locker room chef?
Oh, yes. Yeah, when they had to go down and barbecue and cooking, that was me. Like, teammates to come to my house, they know Big V, he gonna go throw down. So I took pride in that because growing up, I used to cook a lot with my mom and my barbecue a lot with my dad. So I grew up in a household with family that loved to cook. So it's just something in me. It's just second nature for me to be able to cook and barbecue and enjoy it. So it's like, you know, it's playing football. Football is second nature to me, cooking is second nature to me. That's what I do, and that's what I love to do. It's therapeutic for me.
What's it like being here for you? How many times did you go through Super Bowl week with the
Four.
Patriots? 4. So what's this like now, post-career, to be back here? And what memories does it drum up for you?
Man, it just brings what it's all about, you know? So here it is, this game, you know, the world is watching. You know, you're on front, you know, you're on the front stage of everybody. You're going to be looked at. You know, everything is basically shut down because you are the only show on turf that is people watching. It doesn't matter if you're a fan or not. You're going to be watching Super Bowl because you're going to be invited to parties and hang out. It's going to be Super Bowl parties. And the sweetest thing about it is I had the opportunity to be a part of 4. And when you look back, and I tell people this, I say one of the greatest feelings ever is taking the field, being on the sideline, the national anthem, and then the kickoff, the glare, the cameras. The greatest feeling ever. And that's what it's all about. That's what I remember the most about, you know, the start of the game and of course winning to and losing to. So, but leading up to the game, that's what it's all about.
Is it hard to keep your emotions in check?
Oh hell yeah. Yeah, we used to.
You know how big it is.
Yeah, we used to have like Bill we used to have like a meeting about how things gonna change. We got more time. Don't overexert yourself because it's longer. Don't panic, like, and you would have some people like it'll get to them like the anxiety. So you have to be level-headed. You have to understand, like, stay calm, cool, and collected. You have to, and just enjoy the moment. But once the game kicks off, the game is now it's football. Everything else, block out everything else. Now you're playing a game you love, and you're trying to win a ball game. So now, once the game starts, it's like them action.
You know, last thing, you have this great career, you've transitioned, you found a passion, you're involved with something you're passionate about. What do you say to other players who are exiting the game for what they're looking to do post their career?
Find something that you actually love and you're passionate about, because a lot of us, this is the only option we had with sports. That was our only out. And I would tell people that's getting out, find out what it is that you want to do, that you're going to love and be passionate and dedicate everything to, like you did football. And I would tell the people that's still playing, start figuring out life after football, because one of these days it's going to come. So start finding out other interests and take advantage of being where you are with the connections you have. So if you want to become a chef, you can go to restaurants or culinary and meet with certain people. If you want to be in real estate, you can get with a developer. So start figuring out what things that you want to do and transition in. Because the hardest thing as a retired player is transition, figuring it out. You want to have it figured out before you retire. Because once you retire, it's like, okay, smooth transition, I'm going. You don't want to be like, okay, now it's time to figure out, because it's going to drive you crazy. Because all that camaraderie and all those meetings and all that being around the team and all that schedule you used to have that you used to be pissed off about getting up, going to meetings, where you don't have it, you're going to find yourself getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning just looking around like, I don't have that. What can I have to replace it? And then it'll drive you crazy. So start figuring it out now rather than later, and it'll make a huge, huge difference in your life after football.
It's the way you played and coming to your tailgate.
Oh yeah, listen, I get down, trust me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
How about to one of his former teammates? What is it like to make literally the play that wins the Super Bowl? That's what Malcolm Butler did when he stepped in front of that pass from Russell Wilson instead of the extremely controversial, they didn't run Marshawn Lynch down on the goal line with the game on the line. Malcolm Butler makes the interception of a lifetime, and here he was talking about one of the greatest moments in Super Bowl history. Here is, in living form, a Super Bowl hero, Malcolm Butler. Good to see you.
Hey, nice to see you too. Thank you for having me on.
What is Super Bowl week like for you? I'm sure you get to relive past glory, personal, and of course, professionally with the team as well, right?
Man, I relive it every week because it's just so amazing what I did. I just can't forget about it, and people can't forget about it also. Just give yourself credit when it's time to be due for you, and I'm here with Church's Chicken, basically. But I'm here because I love football also. Yeah. And I'm a student of the game. I love the game, and this is what it comes down to when it's for the Super Bowl.
So it like never really leaves your memory what happened for you with this one particular play. So, but when you're here and it's that week again, how do you kind of think about that moment for you?
I'd really be like, it's 10 years now.
Yeah.
And then I coach high school football and stuff like that. So I always tell my guys, like, you better wake up and take advantage of each and every opportunity that you have, because time flies. It seems like it happened yesterday, but that's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
So you knew they weren't going to run the ball on that play? You knew that?
No, I did not know. I didn't know what they was gonna do.
Yeah.
But like basically, like it's what, second and goal.
Yes.
If they run the ball, I'm a cornerback. I cover wide receivers. Why would I be like? I'm not gonna stop the run, but unless they run a crack toss or something like that.
Yeah.
But like I'll tell you this. I learned this from high school football.
Yeah.
I used to like look at the running back, and I look at his eyes. I say, "Yep, he coming my way." But I was looking at number 3 for Seattle,
Yeah.
and he just kept looking that way. I said, "Something up."
Yeah.
And I said, if this wide receiver do anything like he Allen Iverson, it's on.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
So you did kind of know.
It's just, you gotta be a student. Like, everybody is athletic, everybody is strong, everybody is fast in the NFL.
Yeah.
But like, once you're a student of the game,
Yes.
the game comes to you easier.
Yeah.
And it slows down to you.
You know, you're the unique of the unique. There are a lot of people, a few people that have won Super Bowls before. You had the play that won a Super Bowl. It must be amazing just to think about it in the context of that you are the few of the few that did something like that.
Oh, man, I worked for it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I believed in God, I worked for it. And like, it's just unbelievable what I did. Sometimes I can't even believe what I did. Like, I woke up the next day after Super Bowl 49, I'm like, am I the same person? But I wasn't, because life changed after that.
Yeah.
And like you said, like, I'm one of the ones.
Yeah.
And as humble as I can be,
Yeah.
life changed.
But like change for the better, I would hope.
For the better.
Yeah.
Like, it's a gift and a curse, but like, as long as you keep God in your life and stay on the same page and on the same route, it's good.
Yeah.
It's fine.
What made those teams back then so great? Outside of obviously you made this great play, but that team won for so many years in a row. What made them great?
Everybody doing their goddamn job. I'll tell you that. Everybody doing their job. Like, if you got Catane over there, that's your Catane. If you got middle, you got middle. If you covering this guy, you got him. You doing this, you doing that. It's just like a car. If a car can't roll if one tire is flat.
Yeah.
So if everybody's not doing their job, then the car not gonna roll. The team not gonna win.
Yeah.
Put the team first. Put the team first. It's not all about you.
So you were part of a dynasty. What do you think of the Chiefs these days when you see them?
Woo-wee. They bad now. Those some bad boys now. Especially Andy Reid. That's one of my favorite coaches. That's one of my favorite coaches. Only thing Andy Reid did was replace, what's that tight end name? Was it Zach Ertz or, I don't know, Zach Ertz. You got Jeremy Maclin. You got LaShawn McCoy.
Yep.
You got Deshaun Jackson. You had Tyreek Hill. He's just switching it up and still doing the same thing. I look at it as the same team, but he gonna play man on defense. Like, I know he know defense, but he ain't got nothing to do with that. But he gonna play man, and he gonna make sure they tackle. And then he like to play from ahead.
Yeah.
He like to play from ahead.
So what's life for you now? What are you into? What do you do? Obviously, you like you said, every day is that play for you, but there must be other passions that you're following. So what goes on in the life of Malcolm Butler?
So, like, I coach high school football. I've been doing that for 2 years. St. Thomas High School. Just giving game to other people. Little real estate here. Praying to God, just trying to stay focused, because it's hard for players to transition after football. It's hard, especially if that's the only thing you know. And I'm also going to school, finishing my degree. I have 2 degrees.
Was it hard for you too to transition?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit, because I always knew I had other talent. I didn't have to rely on football as much, because I was going to make it either way it go. That's how confident I am within myself.
Malcolm, it's a pleasure meeting you. Pleasure seeing you. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Lorenzo Neal does shows for the Believe Podcast Network and some work out in Northern and Southern California on the air. Very long time San Diego Charger legend. He sat down and we talked about football now and then.
How long have you been out of the league now?
I don't know. It's been that long. You know, it's interesting. You know, you think you go in the league, you're like, all right, cool. I'll go have a cup of coffee. I'll play maybe 5 years, 7, 8 years. You think maybe 10 years. You think maybe 12. Played 16 seasons, 17 training camps. You know, played since '92, from '93 to 2009. 2010 season, I didn't get in. I ripped my hamstring. 17 years, so 2010. So been out of the league like 14 years now.
Wow.
So it's crazy how much time has elapsed since you've been out. And the time goes so fast. When you're playing it, you're just you're in the game. You don't think anything else, and it's just crazy because once you get out, you're like, wow. It's just you realize like events like this, you miss it. You see different people, and I love coming to events and being able to Super Bowl. It's a great week. Ain't that right, Aaron?
That's an incredibly long career, though.
Yeah, it really was.
How did you do that?
You got to be blessed for once. And I was blessed. I was lucky. Just the game is something that when you're playing football, you're a grown man playing a kid's game, getting a king's ransom. And if you're not mentally ready for it, it'll eat you up, spit you out. I see so many guys that had way more talent than me, had way faster, way stronger, but it was about just the endurance. It was about me getting up in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, getting to the gym, doing the things extra, working out, then going back to the field at 12 o'clock, and then practicing again at 6 o'clock at night. On the off season, practicing 3 times a day, training 3 times a day, going back to Fresno, wrestling with the Fresno State wrestling team, the extra things, training with Paul Vaden, the champion of the world, boxing champion, middleweight. So all the things that I did to perfect my craft, I looked at this football for 16 years, it paid my mortgage, it bought me houses, but all those things, that's what this football did for me. But what did I do to protect this football? And kids don't understand, if you don't protect it, if you're not in the gym, you're not working, you're not doing the right things, only this thing, you're not protecting this, and someone else will take your job.
Yeah. You have been out now 14 years. Things are really different. You talk about all the training that you did to ensure that you would have longevity of a career. Times are different now. Things have been collectively bargained differently. Players aren't in the facility as often, aren't asked to do as much in the offseason. How do you kind of look at someone now as they try to manage a career?
I think it has its pros and I think it has its cons. The pros are, I think if you're not going to be around the craft, you need to make sure you're well-rounded, make sure that you understand what you're getting into, make sure that you understand, life itself. A lot of people don't understand that, and when you're playing football, it's hard to try to do a bunch of other things. And the money that you're getting, I don't think that you need to be in pads, hitting every day. I agree with that. I'm okay with those things, but when you're like I said, you're a grown man playing a kid's game, getting a king's ransom, and you have to be at a place. People that work 9 to 5 get home, they have to go back to work the next day.
That's right.
You don't get 4 or 5 months off. But yeah, you don't go through the trauma that you do in the body. But so what's wrong with being around the facility, being around something that you love? I think they need to have more programs around there. Like, okay, in off season, if guys are gonna stay there, if not, wherever they're gonna be, make sure that they're getting involved in other things that whether it's construction management, whether it's whatever they want to do, that transition. But you got to make sure guys are still active, because sometimes guys just sit around and not doing anything. So I do believe that you have to be away from the game. I understand that. But I do believe that if you want to be great, you got to put in the time.
So why did you want to stay so connected to football? You're a host, media, podcast creator. You've kept your proximity to the game. Why'd you want to do that?
I love it. I mean, you got to realize, since I was 7 years old, I played football. It doesn't defy who I am. Football is not what I did. It's what I did. It's not who I am. But at the same sense, I mean, the relationships that you meet, to be able to go to different places and talk to people, have relationships, have a good time, having these moments that you and I are having. That's what football has done for me. It's given me the opportunity to go out and speak to companies and be able to talk to people that you walk into a room and it's like doctors or lawyers or people that business people that are Fortune 500 companies, and they want to hear you, and they're paying you. Why? Because you've shown that you know what it takes for longevity. You know what it takes to be a team leader. I tell people when I talk to different companies and talk to different people, I say, you don't own your brand, people do. When you look at your kids, when you go out to the grocery store, usually parents are influenced by their kids, what they buy, all those different things. So what are you doing to protect your brand? So it's interesting, and that's what football, I think, has done for me, is giving me a story that I can walk into a place and I can sit and I can say, hey, what can this guy talk to me about? I can talk about, CDC, the choices, decisions, and what consequence. If you have running a business, you have a choice. Then you have a decision, then there's a consequence. If you're the head of the business, if your choice is not to be hands-on with the employees, what is the consequence? What's the decision? You decided not to or to. If you do be involved, they're going to respect you. They know who you are. They know that you can get down there and do the things you do. When you don't, they look at you as different. They look at you, hey, you're an outsider. You're not looking, you don't understand what they're going through. So I go through those things, and that's what football has done. It's made me more relatable. So I enjoy it because it's given me the opportunity not just to be able to talk X's and O's, but I can talk practicality about life and what business is, what it looks like, because what success looks like.
So last thing for you, I know you don't live in Los Angeles, but what we're talking about here is impact of the sport on communities. Los Angeles has had a terrible situation occur with all the wildfires over the last month or two. What role can teams football play in helping the community rebuild?
Yeah, I think people don't need to be told what to do, just ought to be reminded. And I think you get out there and remind people, hey, look, it starts from the top. Look, it doesn't matter, and I tell people all the time, you don't have to be red or blue to do what's right. It's right here in what's in the heart. Our country is divided. It's so divided, and you see these fires, you look what happened in Carolina, you look what happened in LA, you look what happened in Maui, and you say, man, what's going on with our country? Why is it about red and why is it about blue? Why isn't it about being together? Why isn't it about saying, how do we find a common ground? Because all of us, we bleed the same, we do the same. So it's about community, and that's the thing about football. Football and sports have brought people together. When you think about war, when you think about racism and inequality, what brought people together? The military. What brings people together? Sports. A lot of white guys never ate collard greens. A lot of white guys never ate chitlins or hog maws. And a lot of blacks have not, had caviar or lobsters and different certain things. Didn't know where the dinner fork is. Didn't know where the dinner fork. Didn't know where the salad fork. Didn't know where the dessert. And cultures bring each other, and you start teaching, because people come from. It doesn't make you less or smarter or dumber. It just means you come from culturally different. So I think football, and you see it, they're getting out. It doesn't matter. It's Stafford. It's all the guys. Black, white, doesn't matter. They're going out trying to bring everyone's together because it's a tough time right now in LA and all the people are hurting. So it's great that what football doing, what the Lakers are doing, what the Chargers are doing. They're saying, hey, look, we're going to reach out in our community, go feed the homeless, help others. That's what this is about. So I love what the NFL is doing. I love that they're going out and helping others that right now can't help themselves.
Lorenzo, it's a pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure's
Thank
mine.
you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Up next, the heads of the NFL alumni and former Redskins Super Bowl champs, Brad Edwards and Ken Coffey. This is the Bram Weinstein Show on ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Welcome back to New Orleans. So this week, you run into legends from all circles, including ones from our neck of the woods. I had a chance to sit down with Brad Edwards and Ken Coffey, who are now the CEO and Senior Vice President, COO of the NFL Alumni Association. But of course, they won Super Bowls back in Washington. Of course, Brad Edwards had 2 interceptions in the last Super Bowl appearance and championship in the win over Buffalo back in 1991. And of course, for the first time since then, Washington reached the NFC Championship game, falling to Philadelphia, who are a couple days away from trying to get a rematch upset of the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend after losing to them in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So I had the opportunity to talk about the past a little bit with Ken and Brad and the future of what they're doing with all the players.
Super Bowl champions.
Hey.
By right. So this must be an interesting week for you all to be back here. Brings back good memories, right?
It definitely is. Excited to see old friends, meet new friends, reminisce somewhat, but it's great to be here. Feel the vibe.
Yeah, the energy is so amazing here, and I think one of the things from our perspective is you've seen you've seen it from the field up as a player, and that's one experience that is really amazing. I mean, particularly when you win, it is beyond bigger. It's bigger than life kind of experience. But when you really get to see it on this side of it, and what all goes into it, you're just reminded about and amazed at the scope and scale of what is the NFL and the Super Bowl.
Well, we've gotten used to this in recent years, but it's very different even from the time when you guys won. I mean, the enormity of it, the scope of it, the style of media presentation of it, everything's really different now.
So you know what I like about this? This is like America at its best or at its worst, depending on what you do with it, because everything is so over the top. So many people are out here pitching something. You know, fortunately for us, we get to pitch the fact that we have a commitment to kids, we have a commitment to our communities, we have a commitment to our former players, and collectively we get to pull together and do fantastic things as a result of that. And we're taking advantage of this thing that's built up around us, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, and we're just making, as an organization, and I'll go back and sort of qualify that as I start on that, is, you know, one year, actually in Washington, I looked down the press guide and counted up, there were something like 80 or 90 charities, that I'll remember, but somewhere in that range, of charities that were represented by the players. And I remember just going, wow, that's amazing. Now, some of that's a function of the coach we had at the time, Joe Gibbs, who was very philanthropic oriented, but the majority of that just was the heart of the players. And what I sense, you know, what we've experienced since then is that doesn't stop when you leave retire. The league. Yeah. It only grows, and players, you know, as they move on in life, and you know, particularly later in life, we really want to leave a legacy, you know, and leave this world a better place. And I'm constantly amazed at how philanthropic, you know, former players really are. It's amazing.
Yeah, you know, I think impact's an interesting subject, especially here in New Orleans. There was a tragedy that occurred here not that long ago. It wasn't that long before that, years ago now, but not that long where Hurricane Katrina hit. We know what the Saints meant to the community, what Drew Brees meant to the community. In Los Angeles, the Rams and the Chargers were playing during a week when wildfires were burning down parts of the city, and I think you see the power of the NFL and its participants in what they can do for communities.
It really is impactful. I love that word impact, and we talk about it all the time. And it's how to create more of it, how to measure it, so that we can create more of it and communicate that to other people. And you're right. It's the power of the league. It is the power of that brand. It's meaningful, and it matters to people, and it's a wonderful escape, you know, from life. And a lot of people, you know, most people don't work to work; they work to live. And this is how people experience life. You know, for so many people, it's an amazing form of entertainment, and it's an ultimate reality show that you just don't ever know. It's why I'm at sort of picking. I don't bet on Super Bowl games. People are always asking me, you know, who's your pick, and you know, and it's hard because it's a reality show. You never know who's going to show up or in what mood, you know, or what's going on in someone's life. You know, it's just any given Sunday.
I don't know if either of you guys will cop to this, but depending on who's asked me and what time of the day it was, I picked the Eagles and the Chiefs. It's just where I am.
I got a 50-50 on this one.
As a voice of the Commanders, having seen the Eagles 3 times, it's hard to pick against them after seeing them 3 times, the team that they have.
You know, and what the quarterback, running back combo can do, and the defense is just so.
Yeah, how do you block? How do you block them?
Yeah. Let's stay on the idea of impact. I mentioned, you know, what's going on currently, what the current teams can do and have been doing, obviously, in their communities. You talked about it extending past a career because the power of the NFL extends beyond that. It's kind of part of you.
Yeah.
So how would you describe what the impact can be for former players?
Yeah, it's, you know, we're principally structured around a 501c3. We do have a membership component, you know, that you can join, and there are lots of membership benefits that we provide, but the bulk of what we do is really wrapped into, on average, raising a little above $1 million a year for third-party charities. And that's food assistance programs, those are childhood literacy programs, those are mentor programs, coaching, determinative health programs, all of those kinds of various initiatives, and they just have tremendous impact, and players want to be involved, and they are really unbelievable voices of trust and inspiration back to their communities. And it doesn't matter if a guy played, had a cup of coffee in a camp somewhere. That community where he went to high school, it still matters and it's meaningful to them. Or that where he went to college, or what have you.
And I also think there's the common language that the athlete speaks, which it goes beyond just the former athletes. So, for example, when I understand, I've been going through physical therapy on my shoulder, and my therapist starts working me, and she's using certain languages, certain buzzwords. It's like, oh, I know I can't BS her because she's competed before. And I started asking her, she said, yeah, I played softball in college. And I was like, oh, I'm looking at you differently now. And it's the ability to get our community together. And our community isn't just the former players. It's also the cheerleaders. It's also those front office people and coaches who work together. So many of those folks who want to be involved in something that's bigger than themselves. We get to provide them that.
And none of us got there alone.
No.
The Gold Jackets didn't get there without, guys like Ken and I. We didn't get there without 80 guys coming to camp, and none of us got there without the fans. And so it is it's a great community that can coalesce around impact and charitable giving.
Yeah, I think community is a good word for it. It's something about this sport brings everybody together in various different ways, and in many, many different ways. Good times and bad times.
The battery has changed real quick.
I normally miss something like that.
Right.
And I'm thinking I'm taping it or whatever, and the red light has stopped flashing or whatever.
Our editing capabilities.
Yeah, that's about it.
You'll never know.
No, right? It's like I watch these. My kids are always watching YouTube, and I'm like, oh, that was a good edit.
I can just pick up from where we were.
Yep, you guys are good.
You ready? Okay. So I think the word community matters. Good times and bad times. We're talking about both. I mean, we were in Washington, and there was a rekindling of a franchise and a reawakening, and it coalesced the community in a really, really positive way. And then there's the other things that have occurred where a team and a community can come together to help one another. I think in good times and bad times, football is very, very, very important.
Yeah.
And it is that release from everyday life. That sports provide. It's that kind of hiding sort of characteristic that as humans, we want to get together and be about something bigger than what we are, and that's kind of what this provides. And it's the brand has continued to grow, and I think for the foreseeable future will continue to grow at the same pace.
I tell you this, it's also exciting in the fact that there's always a new story. Bram, we don't even know what the Jaden Daniels equivalent for 2025 is going to be, but it's already out there. It's already begun to unfold, and that's exciting because as fans of all 32 teams, we get to enjoy that, and I actually appreciate it. All kidding aside, we tease back and forth in the office about favorite teams and other things, but I just like the fact that there's always a story, there's always some excitement that seemingly comes out of nowhere that we get to take advantage of or participate in at some minor level with our association.
You get two players together, there's the whole first half of any conversation is going to be storytelling.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be stories from where they went to high school, common friends or players or experiences. It's so cool to be around that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
One of the common things I've talked to a lot of with the ex-players that came through this week, and where I think you guys can help a lot, is transition. When they think about what is next, there's this kind of tie that binds with football that keeps everybody together, but after a career is over, you got to figure out what you're passionate about, and it seems that the alumni can help with that.
Yeah, and a lot of that starts while you're in the league. The sooner you can develop that mindset. I mean, that's why Kenny was so successful in financial services, after he retired, because he had a plan, he was already prepared, and I was preparing to get out of the league the day I got in it, and that made the transition so much easier and seamless, for me. And so it's kind of, for us, it's starting to attack it from that end. How do we begin to make relationships and get introductions with current players in a way that we can start that depositing those seats. Now the league's doing a great job of that already, and it is very different in watching the evolution of that happen over the last 20 years. Certainly from the time I retired to today, that you see the push and you hear about the push from the league, and we just need to be there to pick it up and reinforce it, from that point on, and within the ecosystem. Working with the league, with the Players Association, with the Alumni Association on, that whole transition.
On a personal level, though, I want to go back to passion. You can have enough in the way of resources, and still miss what you really should be doing. If you aren't passionate about it. It actually becomes a downer, because you can lean on the fact that your house is paid for, or you don't have any debt per se, but you aren't living out what you're supposed to be doing. You aren't waking up in the morning excited to get out of bed because you have this specific ability. That's the passion piece. And so if I'm sharing with the players who are coming after me, or anyone in life, find whatever that passion is. You will not work a day in your life if you do that. And that's why me coming back here was so exciting. I thought I was retired. I had been out 4 years. I hadn't missed it.
Plans.
You and the Lord.
I was just letting you get used to it for a little bit. I had plans for you.
But I wake up in the morning excited about the work that we have to do. And it's not like the work isn't challenging. I just know that it's something that I'm gifted in. I know that I have a team of people that I get to work with who pull as hard as I do. I'm back in the locker room in some respects. I would pay, not too much, but I would pay to be a part of that.
I'll take it. I'm not afraid to ask.
You can pay to be a part of it.
Yes.
I'm not afraid to ask.
Let's put it in my estate. Let's make it in my estate. How about that?
It's just like, in the first half of all of our conversations on a daily basis happen to be on storytelling.
Yeah. It's a perk of the job.
But I knew I had plans for you, though.
Last thing, like if ex-players come to you and they say, I want to join, what do you tell them?
Yeah, we tell them, one, we are the most well-recognized and oldest alumni association in professional sports in this country. And we're the only ones that can carry this shield. And what that does is it means so much power to you from a connectivity standpoint. We provide all of the support around helping you fulfill your philanthropic activities or pursuits or goals at a local level. So we do all the accounting, all the legal, all of the membership benefits. We can introduce you to new member benefits and just help you reconnect or stay connected with that brand. And that's what we find is so important, and help you monetize your name, image, and likeness, which is a big thing now we're obviously hearing about, and that's a big focus of ours. Not only helping fill in the gaps of care that a player may have, or find their care is a whole other challenge. One of those is you can depend on us to help you find that where that benefit is, and sometimes that can be a challenge because you're getting so many different benefits from so many different places. Some of those are for vested players, some of them extend to non-vested players, and so it is a complicated ecosystem that we can assist you with there, as well as helping put money in your pocket. We put a couple $1 million back in players' pockets in cash through our ambassador programs over the last 18 to 24 months. So, we're really doing good work in that capacity. And giving you a voice.
Yeah, and I guess the last thing I would do is I would just echo what you said about if you're a former player and you've fallen on hard times, pick up the phone and call us. I get at least one call a month with someone who's in that situation, and at the very least, I'm a voice you can listen to. In all probability, there's someone or some part of our ecosystem that I can direct you to whether it's the Prayer Care Foundation or back to specific other entities that we have, just to help you get your thinking right, get your thinking back on. And we appreciate the fact that you have the humility enough to say, I'm not in a good place, I need help. And as much as anything, I'm there to listen and help you get to where you need to go to be.
It doesn't really matter, in many cases, we want to stereotype those in need that have, had a certain pathway or didn't make a certain amount of money or, had some other challenges. But it really, hard times can happen no matter where you are on the economic, socioeconomic scale. And so we want to be there to help, whoever you are, whatever, if it's substance abuse or if it's, getting into housing.
Yeah.
We've had to get people into housing who are, unsheltered.
Yeah.
Which is it should never happen,
yeah.
But it does happen, and so we want to be there to help.
Brad Edwards, Ken Coffey. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Brad.
Up next, one of the biggest influencers in the world, Paige Spiranac. Brave Watch the Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. So yesterday I sat down and talked to Paige Spiranac, who, if you don't know, look her up. Hard to miss. Incredibly talented influencer, athlete, golfer, who was down for Super Bowl talking about how you brand yourself, how you stand out on the internet. She knows how to do that. And, of course, a little bit of football.
This is the one and only Paige Spiranac.
Thank you for having me.
How's Super Bowl week going for you?
It's been amazing. This is my first time really doing Radio Row, and it's so impressive.
Yeah, nonstop.
Nonstop. Yeah, nonstop.
You're used to the big events, though. What is this experience like for you to be around the biggest moment around the NFL season?
It's so different from golf. I mean, just to see so many people here and from all different walks of life, it's been really impressive, and I hope one day that golf can get to this level. We're always talking about growing the game of golf and reaching new demographics, and this is obviously the pinnacle of what everyone wants to reach to.
You've been kind of building a brand that way. As you think about trying to build a brand through a sport, how do you see getting from A to B and building golf to where you'd like to see?
When it comes to my brand, I always think about just being authentic to myself and creating the content that I love to create, and people who are like-minded or like my content will always come. I don't try to appeal to everyone because that's really hard to do, and I feel like you lose your core audience in the process. And sometimes having a smaller brand that's more engaged and really loves your content is better than trying to reach as many people as possible. So my approach is probably pretty different than, what most brands are trying to do, but that's just really what has worked for me and keeping my community as strong as possible.
And the sport wants to work with you directly. Do they partner with you through all of this?
Yeah, it's been really cool. So there's been kind of a big boom of golf social media in the industry where it was kind of separate, but now we're all working together, and I'm on the Creator Council with the PGA Tour to help develop new ideas, and it's really amazing to be involved in that way. I feel like we have a lot to offer, and they obviously have a lot to offer us as well, so it's really mutually beneficial.
So what do you think the NFL gets right? Why is it so big? How do they market themselves so well?
I mean, football is just such an amazing sport, and it just has so much action. I think that what golf lacks sometimes is that it's just very different. It's over 4 days, it's long, it's, the tortoise versus the hare, and it's worth it in the very end when it comes down to the back nine on a Sunday of a major, but you have to have that patience to get to that point, and sometimes it's just not as instantly as gratifying as some other sports, that it's always constantly high energy and there's so much going on. I think one thing that's really good that other leagues do is that they know that it's entertainment, and so even if you're not a football fan, you can still go and really enjoy the experience of just being at a football game, where golf, it's a little bit more quiet, and I think bringing in a little bit more excitement would help people come and just want to hang out, because it's great. You're outside, you get to walk around, there's so much to do there, but if you're not a golf fan, sometimes it's not the most exciting thing to want to go for the first time.
But in the digital medium, the made-for moments are there.
Yes.
If you're willing to get around to them. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, it's like the back nine at a major, or even going to the WM, which is the biggest party on grass. Like, there's really fun moments in golf, and I think some people just let their misconceptions of golf being old and stuffy and conservative and all of these things stop them from really getting into the love of the game and what makes it so special. And it's getting there, and it's growing in such a positive way, but the narrative and the storytelling around what golf is and what it does and who's in the community is really important.
You're not just a trader, you are an athlete. When we're talking to NFL athletes, they probably look at you and say, I want to do something like that, I want to brand myself, I want to be in this. What would you tell people who want to get into trying to create their own personal brand?
I mean, social media has been absolutely incredible for my life, and when I first started doing this 10 years ago, there was no path to be a social media influencer in golf. That wasn't a career path, and so I've just kind of paved my own path and have tried to figure it out along the way. But it goes back to what I said earlier, is authenticity is the most important thing. I think when you see other successful creators, you feel like you must do exactly what they do to be successful, and it's actually quite the opposite. People connect with you as the person, and that's why they choose to follow you, not because you're pretending to be someone else. And I think with athletes too, they have so many unique, interesting stories to tell, and using their platform to give a behind-the-scenes look is so incredibly valuable. And I think they see it as being more work for them or opening themselves up to criticism, but it's really a platform to use your voice. And so either if you're getting criticism for something you said or something you did, being the first one to talk about that situation on your platform is so incredibly powerful. And if athletes can use it as a tool for that reason and see it as a positive, I think leaning in would be a lot easier.
You have to understand attention cuts people.
Yes.
All right. Last thing. Who are the great NFL golfers?
Oh, gosh.
You must know them all. Who are
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of crossover. I would say Tony Romo is known for being one of the best golfers
he
who
was
played.
competitive in the pro-ams.
It's the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
The quarterbacks are all so good, and it's the pitchers and the quarterbacks. They are so good at golf. But there's a lot, it's
Because
really
they got to
interesting.
think through everything before every play. Therefore, they think through every shot.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Paige, it was a pleasure. Thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, that'll do it. We'll have a full preview of Super Bowl 59 tomorrow. Bram Whiteside Show, ESPN 630, The Sports Capital.